Greetings and salutations, my Vault Hunters. It is I, Maple, coming at you live, or pretty much whenever you're watching that. We're giving YouTube long-form content a shot. This is pretty much not something I don't think I've ever done, really. Typically, just streaming. You can find me yelling aggressively into microphones while playing various games, or doing voiceover for different shorts and things of that nature. But want to start branching out, want to do something a little different, want to take that leap of faith into some longer content, see how it goes. And I thought, what better video to start off with than making our first $1,000 in sales for specifically Pokemon card sales. And that's the video that we're going to be talking about today, kind of going over an overview of how I got started, how I got back into the hobby, some things that I've learned along the ways, how and where I kind of went for resources to learn how to sell, and pretty much taking that leap of faith. I did make my $1,000 sale just a few weeks ago, made my first sale. Today is May 20th. I made my first sale on April 3rd. You never forget your first. EVEX. It was so good. Made our first sale on April 3rd. And then currently, as of today, on eBay, we are... Now, none of these numbers are earth-shattering or groundbreaking or anything like that. It's a big deal for me, coming from pretty much zero and nothing and no knowledge, being able to get it up to this point and really taking it to the next level. That's the next goal. But as of today, we are at $1,299.05 in sales for our Pokemon singles and playsets on eBay. And on TCG Player, we are at $102.37. I'll kind of go into my thought process on selling on both of those platforms, learning that, figuring that out. That was a bit of a process as well, but we'll pretty much start off with just our general kind of getting into the hobby. Of course, anybody my age, we collected Pokemon as kids. You had no idea what you had back then. You put your cards in your bike, spokes, and doing God knows what with them at recess, playing, frisbeeing them around. Little did we know, it'd be worth quite a bit of money years down the road. But yeah, definitely, myself and all my friends collected Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! As kids and stuff like that. Held on to a few cards here and there and stuff, nothing too crazy. And then actually just recently, this last year, around February, I would say, some friends got me back into the hobby. We, funny enough, went to a Super Bowl watch party, and some friends busted out some cards. Took it from there pretty much, because the Super Bowl was, so fun to watch this year with Chiefs and the Eagles. But I digress. And that's pretty much how, that was the catalyst for me. I have a very, I don't want to say addictive personality, but if there's something that I like, I'm pretty much going to go full force in it and go dive real deep into it. And, it really sparked that passion that I had for cards, not just Pokemon, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Sports cards too. And I try to dabble in a little bit of everything. I'll talk a little bit about, trying to diversify our inventory as well too, not getting with too much Pokemon, because as if you're watching this video and you're interested in the hobby and things like that, it is absolutely bonkers, willy wonkers getting any kind of product, anything. People are camping outside of GameStops and Targets for the release of the Prismatic, super premium collection, and it's just unnecessary violence and just all around craziness. So yeah, me personally, I took the approach when I was getting involved in this, and I decided, this is what I wanted to do for a side hustle and try to grow this into something that I'm going to be staying away from sealed product. So I don't sell any sealed product, and I don't plan on selling any sealed product until I'm actually able to work this up to getting into brick and mortar or something along those lines, like getting an actual account set up with a distributor and things like that, doing it the right way. That's been my kind of guideline, is just, you have to do this the right way. You have to do this the straight and narrow path, and taking shortcuts and doing shady things, man, that's just not a way to build a sustainable business. And that's what I'm trying to do with Vault 99 Games is I want it to be a trusted brand, reputable brand, something that, when you purchase from us, that you don't have to worry or anything about getting ripped off or anything like that. It's a foolproof purchase. So, that being said, it's just, I stay away from sealed product for now, just because I feel like in my current situation, I don't think it just feels weird to me. And so we're going to wait on that. But what I do sell is I've been able to sell singles. So if you're looking for any hot singles in your area, only cards, obviously cardboard, you freak. We sell singles, and then also play sets. That was a big thing for me, learning the actual competitive game and learning what play sets are relevant and things like that. That's been pretty helpful and stuff like that too. So after I went on a little bit of a ramble rant there, but we'll backtrack it a little bit back to, went to the Super Bowl party, got involved in Pokemon again, played a few games, fell right back in love with it. And then from there, it was, figuring out what deck I wanted to use, buying every single card possible with that deck, and then kind of going on from there, expanding the collection. Then my wife and my kids fell in love with it too, and then we started, going anywhere and everywhere you can to get our hands on some cards, ripping packs, and we're just having a really good time with it. Still having a great time with it today, to be honest with you. And then, once you start digging into the actual hobby itself, you start to find out like it's very difficult actually to get cards, and what's going on with, like, we came around, it was Prismatic had just launched, and so we had gotten reintroduced to the hobby at the real boom and things like that, and so it got really hard to find product, but we did and started building our collection. Definitely spent way more money than anybody should in a short amount of time on just collecting, because that's all it was. It was just collecting. And then, we were sitting there one day and we looked at what we had accumulated over a really short amount of time, and it was like looking for something else to do in terms of bringing in some additional revenue and trying to really do something that we can call our own and put our own stamp on and really put ourselves out there and see what we can do. And started looking into it more and decided, let's build a brand and let's start selling some singles, so selling some cards. And the plan eventually is to open up our own shop. I think that's definitely what the plan is, for sure. I know I said I think, but that's definitely what the plan is, to open up our own shop. I think that would be so cool to have our own shop, have a place to be able to do all of our content in, to have a place where people could come and express their joy in the hobby as well. And then once we built out the plan, really took our time with it. I would say, I don't even know how many days, but countless days, long nights of really mapping out kind of our business plan on how we wanted to approach this. And it took some time for sure, because, funds are limited and you really want to make sure that you're getting the right things. When you do research and stuff, you're going to figure out, all right, so the biggest thing is shipping. So we need to figure out what shipping supplies, watch hours of different videos, doing different research on how to ship cards and what supplies to get and things like that. And then, you figure out what supplies you want to get. You got to get them. We went with the number 6 envelopes. These bad boys right here. I know some people go with the number 10s. I prefer the 6s. I've had no issues whatsoever. I've had a lot of good reviews so far, which I've been very thankful for on both eBay and TCG Player, and everything's been good in that regard. And so, once we figured out our plan on how we wanted to approach this, we do our research on shipping supplies and things of that nature. And then after we figured that out, we wanted to figure out what platform we wanted to sell on. It was pretty much between eBay and TCG Player. I had some thoughts at one point of doing Whatnot streams, but that pretty much quickly went out the window once the kind of I learned of the stigma that is around the Whatnot community, and I'm sure there are a ton, great Whatnot sellers that do great business and everything you should do, but at the same time, there's also a lot that don't. And I don't know, it was just a platform that I just personally didn't want to get involved with. I didn't feel comfortable getting involved with it. The whole aspect of it, I just wanted to not do. So we went with looking at both. Obviously, as some of you know, or if you do sell, you know that TCG Player has a leveling system for your sellers that you have to progress through in order to kind of get more benefits with their service and stuff. And the eBay doesn't. eBay, you could just jump right in pretty much and start selling right away. It's a little bit more time consuming with listing products on eBay because you got to take pictures, you got to do descriptions and things of that nature. TCG Player, not as much. You don't really have to take pictures. And then it's a lot quicker to list and stuff like that. But like I said, it takes more time to kind of progress up the levels. So we decided to go with eBay. Posted our first cards at like at the end of March, sorry. And then, like I said, we made our first sale April 3rd and have been kind of rolling from there. It was real surprising. I haven't put anything really into marketing. I think I've just recently, as of like 2 days ago, did a promotional post on eBay. And other than that, I've done no promotions. It's just been a lot of listing. I started out with trying to list at least 10 products a day and then kind of snowballed from there, more and more and more. I'll have some days where I'll list a bunch more and then obviously, kind of go from there. The more products we've had listed, the more sales that have come in. We've had a couple good weekends where it was like over $100 in sales. And, we've had some days that weren't too, It's been a slow process and stuff, but I would say it's been an interesting journey thus far. Just doing a lot of research, trying to figure it out, doing trial by error pretty much. But I would say what's worked really well for us was, as I touched on a little bit briefly, was the play sets. I would suggest if you're going to get involved in this, you want to definitely learn the competitive side of things, the competitive aspect, even just a little bit, because when you're going through your bulk and you're shuffling through, like you're going to go through cards or you're going to pass by cards that could potentially, if you get a play set, 4 of those could be a $10 sale, whereas you're looking at it as just a piece of junk common, things like that. And so like I just now sold like a play set of Arvin, the supporter Arvin, it was about like $10 or so, around that range. And so I mean, when you're shuffling by and you look at those commons, you think they're nothing, but that has definitely helped a lot too, is getting those play sets. Another thing with those play sets too is like when somebody's trying to build a new deck, or if they want to try out something new, this has happened a few times. This is actually something that's really helped out a lot that I would suggest doing too, is that they stumble across our store because we have so many items listed. I mean, it's not a million items listed, but it's a fair amount of items. I think a good few hundred listed for sure. They stumble across our store for a specific card that they're looking for, and then they end up seeing that there are like 8, 9, 10 different things that they need to build this deck that are already listed in our store. So we'll get an order, we'll have 3, 4 different play sets and like 5, 6 different singles because they're building a specific deck, and it's all kind of in-house in one spot. So it's not like TCG Player where you got to buy 1 copy or 4 copies of this one card. You got to hit 4 quantity. Like it's all there already. Like the playset's already made. It's already done. That's something that's really helped out a lot. So, I would suggest looking into playsets, getting involved in the competitive scene, at least learning about it. That really helps out a lot. Those bulk orders have been huge. I've also had some orders of, like bulk orders. Like we did like a card lot of 100 cards of Lorcana. And it was like there's no duplicates and things of that nature. We had like 4 of those. Somebody ordered 400 Lorcana cards. That was a pretty massive order. That was scary to try to ship that one, but yeah, that has been pretty much our journey to get to 1,000. The play sets help out a lot. The singles help out a lot. We used our collection to start off. We've just now been getting into all right, we need to start buying some more inventory and stuff like that. Had a little bit of a scare where we bought somebody's really small collection. It was like maybe 100 cards, maybe, but 17 of them ended up being fake. I might do a video on that whole process, but that was just a wake-up call for me, because you know, I'm viewing them outside in the sun. They're in sleeves too, and it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, you think you're at a certain point with this, and then you get a reality check to where it's like, okay, I still have a long ways to go until I, you know, take the real next step. But started to buy more cards, bring in more inventory. I think our next step too is we're looking into vending. So we're going to be looking into that, trying to pop up to some shows, going to get the proper equipment that we need, you know, a case and whatnot to display our cards. And we're going to look into vending, taking the next step here, and going to be hopefully bringing in some more inventory that way, and obviously making some more sales and stuff. And then after that, you know, we're going to do some shows, try to snowball some shows, and really go from there. Take a look, take a step back, and look from there. But for the most part, that is it for today's video. I know it was a lot of me just rambling. This was my first one. Not gonna lie, a little nervous. We're gonna figure that out. I'm sure I'll get killed in the comments for just rambling on for like 20 minutes almost. So, but I appreciate if you did watch this far. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna ask to like and subscribe because I think that shit's just cheesy and corny. Oh, that was my first curse word in the video at the very end. I'm actually proud of myself for making it that long. But yeah, no, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too terrible. We'll see if I can muster up the courage to do another one of these. I know it didn't make much sense. That was a lot of just rambling. Like I said, a little nervous, but hey, here we are. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Volt 99 Games. Check it out, dude. You guys have a beautiful rest of your day. We'll try to get better at this. Peace.